We had a last minute change into this room, so thank you so much for your patience, and thank you to Cindy and her crew for a quick change into this room. I would like to invite you to start with me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. And I didn't say, I don't know if it matters. I'm calling the meeting to order. Let's say it's 7:01. So thank you. Our next agenda item is the approval of minutes from our governing board meeting on September 26th, 2023. It's our regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Buster?
I'll second.
And Ms. Anderson seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Our next approval of minutes is from the regular meeting on October 10th, 2023. Do I have a motion for these minutes?
So moved.
Mr. King, do I have a second? By Mr. Buster. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on now to our general functions section. Our first item is staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Kruth.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. We have several special announcements and staff, student, community recognitions we'll be working through this evening. First up is Ms. Michelle Wood and her team regarding the bus team. Sorry, that's I'm just going in order on my sheet here. Just wanted to make sure you all would monitor and adjust as we've had to as well. So I appreciate that.
We have lots of new technology in the room.
Superintendent Kruth, President Pratt, and governing board members, we're excited to be with you tonight. I am just going to introduce Mr. Levi Hedgepath. He is the Special Ed Coordinator of Classroom Success, and Abby Countryman. She is the Special Ed Coordinator for Inclusive Practices, and they're going to go through the best team.
Mr. Kruth, President Pratt, and members of the board. The Behavior Education Support Team, or the BEST team, is a multidisciplinary team that provides behavior support to all students across the district. It's coordinated by the Special Education Department, and we've been operating for about 10 years. Our mission is to partner with school staff to maximize student success, build capacity to implement positive change, and empower teams to develop innovative solutions. We do this by collaborating with school teams to create effective behavioral interventions. We find and share effective strategies across the district. We offer professional development, and we coach side by side with staff and demonstrate effective strategies. As everyone here is well aware, there has been an increase in behavioral concerns for students since the pandemic, and we're here to support. As I mentioned earlier, our team is multidisciplinary, meaning that we are able to provide support from a number of perspectives and expertises and professional backgrounds. On our team, we have people with expertise in teaching, special education, site and district level administration, resource instruction and assistive technology, school psychology, meaningful inclusive practices, adapted instruction, speech pathology, and applied behavior analysis. Our collaborative efforts have seen some meaningful results.
Our process for supporting schools begins with a referral. A staff member initiates a request that includes the administration of that site. BEST team members are then mindfully assigned based on their areas of expertise and skills. After collaborating with the team and providing feedback, the BEST team continues to check in, and if the student has demonstrated significant progress, the student can move to monitor and BEST team support can fade. Last year, we had a total of 54 students who were referred. Of those 54, 28 students were moved to monitor, and we were able to close out 17 cases due to continued success, changes in placement, or moves. This year, we have a total of 20 students that we are supporting with 11 new referrals. We have been able to move 1 student to monitor and already close out 1 case. We want to thank the governing board for your support of the BEST team. We look forward to continuing support to all schools throughout the district. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you all. I just want to make a note as you're doing that. Also, we talked a lot about behavior and where that falls in. Students who are on the BEST team are also at that kind of a tier 3 level of needing support. We're talking about what that looks like in the continuum of behavioral support, but also just supports for students. So thank you both for your presentation. Now we have the diaper drive. Ms. Heather Stow and Mr. Mark Tate.
President Pratt, Superintendent Caruth, and Governing Board. I'm here for my annual diaper board presentation. And, you know, I was coming up with some numbers this afternoon, not coming up, but working on some numbers, you know, and I said, and Heather actually had said, you know, when did you start doing this? And it was 2017. So I went and did some background look. And in 2017, I understand 2 teachers, Miss Smith and Megan, both teachers at Cienega, were with the National Honor Society and doing diaper drives. So I went and I said, hey, I'm with resources. How can I help with the diaper drive? And that year they collected 10,000 diapers, and we kind of did it together. And the next year they disappeared. And so here it is 7 years later. And we're still collecting diapers, but really do appreciate Smith and Megan for what they did 7 years ago in order to get us started. Megan Sauer. So anyway, I want to take a moment and do some introductions as well. Jamie Salyer, the VP of Operations for Arby's, is not here tonight. She emailed me and said she had an issue with a family member and could not make it tonight. Karen Foley in the back row is the general manager for Galaxy Theaters. Sarah Gardes is a 4th grade teacher at Sonita Valley. And it was interesting, this week I was in this room looking on the backboard, and she is one of the new NTI teachers in the district. And then Molly Cashin is here. She's a 5th grade teacher at Sonita Valley and is in the master's program and is attending the meeting tonight. Amara Knott, young lady that you'll hear more about in our presentation, and her parents, Kara Marlowe and John Knott, right next to her. Emma Kelly. Right over you. Student at Micah Mountain, and you'll hear more about her. Yvette Sykes is the CEO of the Diaper Bank of Southern Arizona, or Arizona Diaper Bank now. And Leslie Pike, Manager of Programs and Volunteerism. And Leslie and I have been working together for probably all those 7 years. Yeah. And Lori Gruner, back there in the corner, is the president of the PTA at Acacia Elementary and has helped quite a bit, not only at Acacia, but across the district and the diaper drive as well. So I'd like to thank everyone for participating in the 23 diaper drive. It truly does take a group effort. And I'd like to thank the volunteer coordinators, student service coordinators, principals, assistant principals, staff members, and community members. Truly, education is a community effort. Also like to thank some friends, Ken Prinz, Lynette Tate, Renee and Jonathan Ehler, Peggy Benson Renyon, Jean Holmes, Lupe Galvez, and Nathan Ditto, employees of the district, and Claudia Morales for going around to the schools and several of the businesses to help pick up the diapers over a 2-day period. Also, Catherine DeMonica with the Diaper Bank, was a big help in collection. Stephanie, who is their their warehouse manager, was very helpful. Ian Arthur was the one that created the website to be able to give financially. And then Leslie, as she helped organize the whole thing. Also like to thank all the schools and community programs for they all did participate in the activities. And thanks to the students and staff at many of the schools for helping when we were at their schools for collection. So that was our flyer for this year. And it was interesting again to note that 1 and 2 U.S. families do struggle enough for diapers to keep their children healthy. I'd like to thank specifically Arby's. Jamie Salyer is not here tonight, but she was able to get all 13 of their stores in the Tucson area to do a roundup program that netted. And so they had this at all 13 stores to ask customers to round up to the next dollar. And through that, they were able to give a financial contribution to the diaper bank of $27,215 over about a 6-week period of time. That netted in just over 181,000 diapers, the equivalency. Galaxy Theater, Karen Foley. The Galaxy Theater, this for July was my 70th birthday. And so we threw a birthday party at the Galaxy Theater. Karen gave us the theater and a current movie for free. And so all the expense was actually 70 diapers to come see the movie. And so there was a lot of the diapers that was collected, just shy of 5,000 diapers that night. So, Karen, if you'd come up. On behalf of this school district, thank you very much for your support for in the past, and especially for this year in the diaper drive. She helped not only with the birthday event, we did then a night at the Galaxy Theater where we sold 107 out of 120 tickets to see a movie. And she was very helpful on that. And she wasn't even there. Her sister was in town. And so she had her assistant to help with that evening. And now as we celebrate the 4 schools with the major awards, all get to take a portion of their school, except for Savano, because there are only 120 kids, to the Galaxy to see a movie there and a snack pack. So thank you very much, Karen.
We are honored to help you. What a great project.
Thank you. Living Branch Church, once again, collected for 2 Sundays and collected over 13,000 diapers. Emmanuel Presbyterian Church, Oro Auto Repair, Creation School, LuLaRoe, and Walmart, with not only donations, but also watermelon boxes, which we have found very valuable in stacking soft diapers in the truck. We were able again to get a 48-foot trailer on the property. And this year that thing was packed to the very back, almost like your garage where you try and cram one last thing in before you close the door. That was pretty cool. So our plaque for this year for the most total diapers, in the past it's been Esmond Station, but this year it's Anita Valley. Chris Vitosh, if you could come up. And talking with Chris and his father-in-law is a good friend of mine. Chris goes, he says, we're just getting out of the diaper business. And he says, I know how expensive and how valuable and how important it is. He told his class that if they were in the school, if they were in the top 3 finishes, that he would wear a diaper to school. Well, he went in the top 3, they won. And so last week, Living Branch and us were there, ice cream for every student in the school. And both both Mr. Witosh and Ms. Swoger, the assistant to the principal, wore the diapers proudly all day long.
We need,
Not
we
real
need
sure if it
photo
was
evidence,
proudly,
Mr.
but- And I did think about putting the picture up and I went, no, I like the man too much. And then, it's within Sonita Valley, Julie Dennis, the volunteer coordinator, was all over this project. Seriously, every day she was sending me emails about how are we doing financially or how are we doing with diapers. Really stayed with it. Tiffany Perry, the reading specialist, Sarah Ross, counselor, Emma Watts, president, and their PTSA, and of course, Principal Witosh. 63,881 diapers. And so I wanted to also recognize fourth grade teacher, Miss Cargas, her class alone collected 14,308 diapers. So I don't even think that was discussed in NTI. But maybe we can start adding that in. And then, just a special acknowledgement to Esmond Station, who has won the last 6 years. I know a lot of the students continue. I know Miss Anderson's child continues to bake cookies to raise money to buy diapers, and that just runs throughout the district and within Esmond Station. But through the 7 years of diaper drive, Esmond Station has collected over 250,000 diapers. And so just wanted to recognize that school as they continue to consistently support year after year. And then with us today is Amara Knott, who single-handedly collected 12,333 diapers. So why don't you come on up. And with her tonight is Amara's parents. Where did I find that? John and Kara. Woohoo! Kara Marlowe and John Knott, and your business is Dynamic Electric. And I understand they've been serving the community for 60 years now. So, and I'm sure that you helped a little bit with all that. But perhaps this is your first one to put on your wall. Okay, thank you very much. And for the parents, get one as well.
Mom, do you want to get up there? You guys can get a quick
like you
picture
need a
with
real
Mr.
picture.
Tate. Yeah, stand up and get a picture.
One, yeah, and I thought at the end we'd do one
Oh, okay.
collective one
Okay.
too, but. The highest average per student last year was Savano with Andrea Garbett, school coordinator, and Hope Sains, Megan Woodson, and Patricia Dobecki. Last year was 84 diapers per student with 100 students. This year they had 120 students. They've grown by 20. So what they went ahead and just averaged 84 per student again. So they increased the number of diapers to keep it at 84. So we've got a plaque for them, which was theirs last year, and they'll get to keep it again this year. And then again, special acknowledgement to the Vic-Ville Innovation Center, Krista Murray and Rachel Tankersley, who averaged nearly 29 diapers per student. And with their special conditions where the kids come and go and sometimes there and sometimes not, that's quite a chore in order to collect diapers from them as well. Greatest increase from last year is Cottonwood Elementary. Samantha Thomas, office clerk, and Cassidy Kilansky. Can't you hire more Smiths and Jones? And fifth grade teacher, she's fifth grade teacher, and Abby Cardenas, third grade teacher. Their increase was 1,523% over last year. So they will get their plaque, and a special acknowledgement to Empire, a high school, 1,140% increase, which we find for high school kids to bring diapers into the school is quite a challenge. Most creative campaign is Acacia Elementary, Laura Gruner, Lizzie Brown, she's volunteer coordinator, Levi Smith, who helped quite a bit with the Galaxy Theater, and Jason Campos, principal. They showed the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. They sold 107 of 122 tickets, resulting in almost 8,600 diapers. So that would go ahead and give it to Laura. Well, trust she gets it, Jason. Thank you. And special acknowledgement is to Micah Mountain High School, Mr. Tretz and Mr. Penland. Mr. Penland kind of used to be at Esmond Station, I think, got the fever there, and then he was able to transfer it over to Micah Mountain. But talk about a high school that really gets with the program and collects the diapers. They really do a great job. And Emma tonight, right, Emma? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Emma Kelly is a harp player, and we wanted to recognize her tonight, that she advertised in Savannah that she'd be doing a harp performance, and the payment to watch was diapers. So she collected 3,000 diapers. Kind of another way of the creative ways now of doing the diaper drive, and not just bring diapers, but performance and entertainment for diapers. So thank you very much. And she's going to remember to invite me next year. So kind of the ways that we're celebrating, a diaper bank is providing ice cream for the schools. Living Branch provided ice cream for all of Sunita Valley, and we'll be doing it with Micah Mountain on the 31st, which we'll see if we can provide ice cream to 1,200 kids in a 30-minute lunch break. It will be the fastest handout of ice cream ever. But, and so this year, last year, the number was the record was 185,000. This year we collected 245,453. And if you then add the Arby's collection, that's another 181,434 for a total of 426,887 diapers. They give about 1.2 million diapers a year out. So we were about a third of what they hand out. And again, as I've told the story over and over, Diaper Bank continues to say, what's the secret sauce? And I say, we're Vail. And they no, what are you doing? We're Vail. And that's what the Vail School District in Vail does. It just gives and supports. And so, and then one last number I looked at over the last 7 years, how the diaper drive has been going. And also recognizing Arby's amount. We're at 1,155,575 diapers. So almost a year's worth of diapers the Vail community has provided in the last 7 years. So again, thank you for allowing us to do that, encouraging us and others to do that. But thank you, and thank you all for your support. You all over there, administration, thank you.
Yep, and yeah.
Every community needs a Mark Tate.
Yes.
And we're lucky to have them, and so are you. But we're lucky that you share them with us. And on behalf of the Diaper Bank, we'd like to honor Mark with this award. For being so dedicated and the motivator down here in Vail. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my first.
President Pratt, governing board members, Mr. Caruth, I would be remiss if I didn't come up and also thank Mark. He's just a model of what it looks like to invest in the community, and he builds connections and opportunities to serve everywhere that he goes. So we're just so very grateful for the time and energy that he puts into so many projects across the district, including the diaper drive. And our award doesn't quite compare to the beautiful diaper bank award, but it just says Mark Tate, diaper drive, September 2023. Thanks for going above and beyond to cover Vale's bottoms.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sure.
Well, I know Emma didn't get a picture. Would you want a picture with Mr. Tate, Emma and Katie?
And as you're doing that, I just want to say that every secret sauce has a special ingredient, and our special ingredient in regard to the diaper drive is Mr. Tate. And thank you for doing that, Mark. You've created a culture of that provides a real opportunity for young people to serve others, and 250,000 diapers is pretty amazing. So thank you. Thank you all. And you are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you like, and some other recognitions. There are some, actually is some exciting stuff ahead. Or you can take off and go do some, what's that? I thought we do a group picture with the board, but we didn't want to do it for them.
It's a little late now.
We do have a few other staff, student, and community recognitions. I believe Mrs. Stow is escorting those out there. So I'm going to go ahead and move to Mr. Isaac Walco, followed by Mr. Widosh.
Superintendent Caruth, President Pratt, governing board members, good evening. Just wanted to take a few moments to recognize some of the outstanding staff at Pantano. We had an amazing in-person intercession that makes all the difference, especially for the population that we serve. Counselor Randy Verdon orchestrated it, Rachel Mullins, Jacobo Carrasco, Julie Hendricks, all did a phenomenal job serving. About half of our students showed up for intercession and earned credit. So it was a job well done for them. Also wanted to recognize Jerry Wood and Ron Haymore for helping with renovations in our counseling office and getting our campus painted in the front and helping out with our garden project that we're initiating. Been much appreciated. And then lastly, Jean Peglow for her time and effort, masterfully being a leader and helping revamp and develop a strong and robust reteach program over there at Pantano. So good things happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walco. Mr. Witosh. Followed by Mrs. Wood.
Good evening, President Pratt, Mr. Caruth, members of the governing board. Everyone's having a good evening. It's hard to top Mark Tate, but I'll try my best. I'd like to recognize first the excellent Sonita Valley front office staff, starting with our registrar, Jamie Trissler, and our office clerk, Jen Clark. They set the tone of Sonita Valley's family culture by being warm, welcoming, enthusiastic, and supportive of each and every family that walks in, and in particular, every single kid that is in that office. They build relationships with families and students and really create not just a positive first impression, but just a warm, welcoming environment consistently. In addition, I would like to recognize the relationship building and work ethic of our excellent volunteer coordinator, Julie Dennis, who was instrumental in our diaper drive success, which we're very proud of, and also just to cultivate relationships with families and to get folks engaged as much as possible with our site. Finally, I would like to recognize April Burton, our health aide. April is a kind, compassion and delicate interactions with students and with families, while also being an excellent resource for health-related questions that families have, students. So as a unit, our front office team just exudes the positive family culture of Siena Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodbosh. Mrs. Wood, followed by Mrs. Stout.
Superintendent Caruth, President Pratt, and governing board members. I want to start by recognizing the special education office team, Michelle Alexander, Amanda Giles, Jill Applegate, and our fabulous office manager, Cindy Cahill. These ladies work incredibly hard just to make sure that our family and our staff get everything that they need. They process over 2,000 students' paperwork each and every year. And sometimes that's not just one piece of paper, but multiple pieces of paper. And they make sure that they get what they need. And importantly, they kind of keep us all on track and keep us all balanced. So I'm incredibly grateful for the hard work that they do each and every day. The second recognition is for an event that happened last Tuesday night. It was our first ever special education resource fair that was open for families preschool all the way through high school. We have a longstanding history of having a really top-notch transition open house, which is really focused on our high school students as they're getting ready to leave us. But we really felt like it was important to open this resource fair for all families to make sure that our youngest families had access to the resources that are available within the community. It was an amazing success. We had over 200 families or 200 people that came through the door with about 45 vendors that took part in that. We saw preschool families, our young 3-year-olds, getting connected with services that we know will make a difference in their lives. My team feels very passionately about building relationships with families and making sure that we provide connections that really truly make an impact. And this event was just a powerful example of how we can support families just beyond the school walls. I want to especially thank James DeBate, Kendra Davis, Sarah Caruth, and Elena Fredrickson. They really took the lead on coordinating the details of the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wood. Mrs. Stout.
Good evening, President Pratt, members of the board, Mr. Caruth. Every quarter, our team recognizes the rock star of the year and just different staff members that we support that go above and beyond in their role. So I just wanted to take a few seconds to share some of those recognitions. Irene Cifuentes is a volunteer coordinator and student services coordinator in Pantano High School. And my staff shared that she's just a true rock star. She always has a smile on her face and a hug to share. She wears a ton of hats at Pantano, volunteer coordinator, student service coordinator. She just has that genuinely kind spirit. She's a quiet source of support to everyone around her, and she just serves so many roles with the heart, just to serve kids and wrap around them. Susan Montalvo Williams is a counselor, student service coordinator, and Check and Connect site coordinator at Oldvale Middle School. And she has been a force this year with the implementation of the Check and Connect mentoring program. She jumped right in and got 6 students matched with 6 mentors within the first quarter. She's just kind and confident, inspiring both personally and professionally. And my staff is very grateful for her. And I'd like to recognize Ginny Graves, our Check and Connect district coordinator. She's done an incredible job of scaling the Check and Connect program. We now have that program in 8 schools, and we will have 20 active mentors across the district by the end of the quarter. And we just have some incredibly high caliber mentors that have made really incredible impact. We have a student that got paired with a mentor at the end of last year who was failing all of their classes, and they now have straight A's. So it's just been really exciting to see the impact even over a few months' time. Colette Alvarado is a counselor at Cienega High School, and she just has such a vested interest in developing a team where she encourages growth and leadership, as well in collaboration and compassion around her Cienega counselor team. We're just very excited, are very passionate and honored by all of the work that her team does in celebrating our kids and all the very challenging situations that happen on a high school campus as well. Rhonda Hamaker is the wellness coordinator at the Vail Innovation Center, and she has just stepped into the role full force, eager to learn and wanting to make a difference. They were just doing their staff wellness campaign, and her staff had 100% participation. She went around to every staff member and just made those personal asks. So we're just so grateful for her. I'd also like to acknowledge Peggy Benson Runyon, who helped to coordinate Make a Difference Day on Saturday. We had 16 projects, 480 volunteers, and 1,600 volunteer hours. She just went above and beyond in coordinating, and just the thought and care that she shows towards our volunteers. Blanca Mountain did a huge paver project, and they were not going to stop until they were done. So she came to the community picnic, brought 60 hamburgers and hot dogs over to the volunteers to make sure that they had lunch while they were in the middle of their project. So we're just so grateful for her heart for volunteers. And also Sarah Bates for hosting the community picnic, where over 300 volunteers came and celebrated with live lunch and live music. Not to also say that Mrs. Bates was also running a bobcat for 3 hours on Saturday, moving rock on her campus. That community picnic was graciously sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We'd like to thank them as well. That's the end of my recognitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Snow. I have a few other district-wide recognitions. This is what happens when we have break and miss this over a busy period of time. But it's worth taking a moment to honor all of these amazing accomplishments and people over the last month. So we had several National Merit Scholarship recipients that were named within the last several weeks from Andrada Polytechnic and High School, and the Vail Early College student, Michael Harrington, from Cienega High School, Jesse Nichols, and from Empire High School, Mr. Ethan Pratt and Jared Safiati. So congratulations to them. Also this past weekend, the U of A does a Women of Impact Award, and they extended it this year to honor young women of impact in our community across the Pima County region. And we had one student from each high school receive that recognition and honor at the ceremony on Saturday. And they were Julia Irby from Micah Mountain High School, Samantha Smith from Cienega, McKenna Tavers, Vail Academy and High School student, Julie Rodriguez from Andrada Polytechnic, and Rowan Wilson from Empire High School. They were celebrated at the U of A on the 20th and honored for laying the foundation for a brighter and more equitable future. So pretty incredible. That's all we have for staff, student, and community recognitions this evening.
Thank you so much. Our next item is call to the public and acknowledgement of public requests to speak. At this time, I don't have any requests to speak, so we will move on to the next section, which is correspondence and reports. Our first item is the superintendent's report. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Just a couple of announcements. One is that thank you for everybody for continuing to roll with our construction project here at the district office, including our roof construction project, which is going quite smoothly in spite of the fact that when it rains, there's some leaks because they're doing a roofing project. That just happened to be over our boardroom this evening, but we're actually on time and on schedule and should wrap up in February, right? Jane? Punch list in January, Mr. Wood says. So we're on schedule. One of the things you'll notice is some upgraded technology components in this room, also associated in the boardroom as well. We need a few more days for the contractor to get that up and running, and then we'll have a much better presentation space and also video streaming space. So just want to acknowledge that. The other real critical item coming up this week is school labels and rankings. All schools will receive a school label A through F. Those cut scores were affirmed by the Arizona State Board of Education on yesterday. And will be made, they have to statutorily make those things available to the public on November 1st, which is next week. But we understand that they're planning to release those this Friday. And we expect there to be very good news, so stay tuned. That's all I have for student superintendent's report.
Thank you. Our next item is our board reports. Are there any board members who wish to give a report at this time? Ms. Tippett?
I feel like Mr. Cruz just left us on a big old cliffhanger. Anxiously awaiting those details on school grades. I just wanted to follow up after the presentation that we had regarding the diaper drive today, the amazing effort that is put forward, there's some really remarkable people who lead the effort, and we have really remarkable parents who plug in and invest in those opportunities and let their kids
practice compassion and giving and empathy and all of those things that we want young people to learn and to grow up to do. I have the privilege to work at our local food bank, and we partner closely with the Diaper Bank of Arizona to receive diapers that we then hand out to families locally here in our community. And so while this massive donation really supports the entire area, it will more than cover every diaper that we will need in our food bank to share with our community. So I'm really grateful to Mr. Tate for leading the effort and for our administration for plugging in and being all in the process. And I'm looking at you, Mr. Wadash. And really thank you so much to all the parents and students who take the opportunity to care for the rest of our community. So that's my report.
Thank you, Ms. Tippett. Mr. King, or no?
Me?
Yes, okay.
Right. So over the last couple of weeks, we did a site visit to Andrada and Pantano, and see the artwork up here. This actually was actually done by the TSW students, the high school students at Andrada, and they did a silent auction. So when we were out there doing the site visit, I was like, hey, I'm going to try and see if we can get this, So I put my bid in, and I won these. I actually won a third one that Principal Parks is actually holding on to me because it's kind of a dad jokey kind of thing, and he's got that same kind of sense of humor, so he's actually holding on to that piece for me. But these, I saw these, and I was like, this is like amazing work, and it just really does show kind of the quality and the creativity that we have in some of our schools, and the talent. It does speak for itself. From Andrada, then we went over to visit Isaac at Pantano. We got to see, the classrooms over there, and the kids were over there, and we got to see that we didn't get to see all the kids because they were busy testing. They were actually doing the ASVAB test that day. But we also got to see some of the stuff in the background too, and see some of the challenges that they face out there. But seeing how they actually go above and beyond, and they invest in their kids out there, and whether it's putting personal time, effort, money, gas, whatever it is, to make sure that these kids get that quality education and showing really what that community is about. So I wanted to thank you guys for all of that. Additionally, we attended a reality check lunch at OVMS, which I was totally late for, which is totally like the worst thing ever. But it was amazing to hear some of the stories that just come out of these reality check lunches. And again, humbled to actually be part of this district. And then kind of the last thing, I'll wrap it up with this. I'm looking forward to the trunk or treat event out at Andrada and Pantano High School Saturday night. I'll have to talk to you a little bit later, Isaac, about some of the stuff I got planned. I stopped out and saw Jean yesterday, and it was totally amazing. She said, be creative. I got this. There's going to be pictures. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. King. Other board reports, Ms. Anderson.
Well, I'm just gonna piggyback off some of what Chris said. I got to go on that site tour to Andrada and Pantano, and I hadn't been to Andrada or seen a lot of the campus for a while, and so it was really cool to be on the campus and see the work that has been done, and like the fields and like the tennis court. Like there was just so much there. My kids ran cross country, and I remember when it was just dirt, and so it was really cool to see that, and just to go see the programs that are going on there, and seeing the kids in action. We got to go to the auto area, and I mean, they were the teams were preparing for a pit stop competition, and they had a first all girls team. And it was neat to see all of that. And then to go over to Pantano, and thank you for sharing your school with us. And we got to meet all the teachers there, and it just, and just to see the good that you do, and to discuss truly needs there also. I appreciate just being able to share that information and see it firsthand. And I can just feel the love that you guys have for your students, and also how those students feel about you guys. You have a pretty special place there, so thank you. And then today I got to go to Catalina Foothills High School and be at their fall festival for the choirs in the area. And I actually got a little emotional walking in because my son performed in it his sophomore year, which was the year that COVID happened. And that was the last time that I had been there. And to be there again with those kids and to hear them was pretty amazing. And I just want to share one of my favorite moments. What happens is they go up, the different groups perform, and it's completely quiet in the auditorium. You know, a pin could drop and you wouldn't hear anything. And as soon as they're done, they go off and they go for their sight reading, and the next group prepares to go up there. But sometimes there's a gap. And at one point, and I'm sure it was someone who works at Catalina Foothills because they were coordinating, he comes in and he says to everyone, we actually have a little bit more time between this next group. So you're welcome to talk. Just as soon as the next group goes up, I want you to be quiet, you know, but he said, you know, you're here to meet other kids. So feel free to interact with these other choir kids. And it was just so fun because he has no idea that up top was Cienega and down below was Empire, just where they're sitting. And these kids who are friends and know each other were just like, the difference in the room was just automatic, and it got really loud and they just ran and just connected. And to me, that was just a neat moment to watch. And Micah Mountain performed there yesterday. But I loved it. Like these kids are friends and they cheer each other on and they support each other. And it was just kind of a neat moment just to be there to watch it. And so that was really cool. So there's my report.
Thanks, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Bester.
Just a quick thanks to our phenomenal community, because I had the opportunity to work with a great bunch of parents and students within the community this past Saturday for Make a Difference Day. And just to piggyback on what has already been said, but I really believe in this community and the folks that come out and they want to develop a sense of community. They take pride, especially young folks that take pride in the community and what their school looks like. They're looking at the safety piece. They're looking at the security piece, and looking out for others is absolutely phenomenal. Folks that just give up their Saturday to make sure that not just the beautification piece of it, but the aesthetics along with just making sure that anybody that comes in and around their schools is in a safe and secure environment is absolutely phenomenal. So again, huge thanks to all those folks that went out to their schools and did the work to make sure their schools are the best.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. Lots of great reports, lots of examples of education being a community effort. We will move on at this time to the consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There'll be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be considered individually. Do any board members wish to pull an item? Mr. Cruz?
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. It's recommended that the Vale School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Mr. King
Seconded.
and Mr. Bester. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Our next item is new business, and our first item is the fine arts update. It's an inform item. Mr. Cruz?
Thank you. I'm going to ask Mr. Matrosino to come up and get plugged in for his presentation. And as he does so, just want to acknowledge that the work and the support of this board, in one, creating the position that Mr. Matrosino is in, and two, I think as pivotal important as that is, it's more important the funding that and resources that are being utilized and targeted to help bolster what's happening, to the wonderful work that's happening across our school district in fine arts. And looking forward to seeing what the fruits of those are. So Mr. Machesino, why don't you take it away? And as he's doing this, just need to put in context, Mr. Machesino's really only been on the job since July 1. Maybe he probably had a little bit longer runway before that, a week or so, but really on the job since July 1. And here we sit in the middle of October. So with that, just thought it'd be fun to do an update. Mr. Machesino.
Thank you very much, President Pratt, members of the board, Mr. Cruz. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. Like you said, Mr. Cruz, my first day on the job was July 3rd. So it's been a lot of catching up. Really, this is like a year-round job where come January, we're planning for the next year and we're getting that all set up. But right now we're just excited about everything that's happening. So first of all, I wanted to thank you all very much for this opportunity. Not only for me to speak to you, but for me to represent all the fine arts teachers within the districts. It's really important to all of us, and it's wonderful, and the teachers are extremely excited about this, and it's filtering down to the students. So thank you very much. So today I just want to talk to you about what we've been doing for the first 9 weeks, and give you a little bit of an update, show you some pictures that Kendra has taken the last couple of weeks, going through some of those classes. So we're going to talk a little bit about just what we wanted to do immediately. And that was to get some resources into the classrooms as fast as possible. So as you look at this picture here, this is one of our first grade classes at Cottonwood. And something that is obvious is that the kids are really excited about being in this class. And they're participating, they're all paying attention. If you would have been there before, they had these pieces of paper where they had imaginary instruments, and they all had ballots and they were practicing on the paper. And then they came over here and they practiced on the real instruments. Something that we're looking at though is, can we get more than just 4 instruments in that classroom? You know, so part of this budget that we're working on is making sure that the classrooms are equipped with what they need. So yeah, obviously we're gonna need to share, and sharing is actually part of the learning experience, but we shouldn't just have 4 in a classroom of 20. So not only is some of the monetary supplies that you're giving us, but we also are looking for professional development opportunities as well. Here's a kindergarten art class, and we're going to talk about some additional fundings here. So art was one of our big focuses, especially K-5. There were some schools where they might be giving like $250 per year, which equals out about 75 cents per kid. And it's just not enough. And we know how the budgets are just stretched so thin, and their principals are doing the best that they absolutely can. So what we wanted to do was provide them with extra money so they can actually provide a better experience for all their kids. So what we did at the K-5 level, actually for all of the levels, K through 12, is to give $3,000 additional money for this year. And this money is going to go towards better supplies, more supplies, being able to go away from just two-dimensional arts, going into 3-dimensional, so they're working on some clay, doing sculptures and things like that, new activities that they can't just do at home. And that was part of it. We also gave a little bit more for the K-8s and the K-12 schools, just because they're doing so many more things. And then all the teachers do a huge presentation at Bill Friday. And we wanted to make sure that they had a little bit more money to help with the presentation. So we gave them each school $200 just to go specifically towards the supplies for Bill Friday. What we were finding is, because when you go to Vail Friday, you see these beautiful exhibits. And what was happening is so many teachers were paying for those supplies out of their own pockets. And I wanted to make sure that they didn't need to do that anymore. So thank you for that ability. Drama, theater, and dance, we were able to give $2,000 for K-8. So there's a lot of middle schools who have drama programs in the clubs. So we gave them $2,000 for capitals. So they're able to buy costuming, set pieces, and then also their scripts. And then high school, we did $3,000. And then dancers, 2 dance programs in the district. So they didn't need much this year, but we're looking for some funding opportunities for next year. Music. A little bit different, because with art, there's a little bit lower funding level here, because they're not going through supplies every single year like an art student is, right? So this is more along the lines of, we need to buy things to keep them going for the next 10 years. So we did $2,000 for the K-5, and then K-8 $2,500, and then high school is a little bit separate, where it's not just per school, but it's by teacher, because we have teachers who are teaching different disciplines. And so we're just trying to figure out the best way to get that money to them. So that's what we're doing for each, that's what we want to do every single year, is kind of keep that level going. We have some really exciting, big monetary things that we're doing district-wide. For an instrumental teacher, like I was for a long time, this first one, which is the instrument repair, is huge. We would go years where I didn't have money to go and get an instrument repaired. So it just kind of sat there until it needed to be fixed, and I would just find some way to get it over there. But we have $15,000 where any teacher can take an instrument to a store in town and they'll fix it. You know, and that way we can get those instruments right back into the hands of the kids who need it. What we find is that if a kid doesn't have an instrument that's in proper working condition, they're not going to be successful and they're not going to enjoy it. They're not going to want to continue on. So if we can give them the tools that they need in proper working condition, then they're going to want to do well. Every classroom also has a piano in it. A lot of them haven't been tuned in years. So we wanted to make sure that they were tuned at least once a year. So we have that coming through. And then we're going to start a 3-year rotation where we can backfill a lot of equipment that hasn't been put into the classrooms in a long time. So this first year, we wanted to focus on the K-8 music, where we can start getting, like in the K-5 level, we can go back and get more of those little xylophones for the ORF instruments. We can get boom whackers, we can get curriculum. And the middle schools, we can get instruments. You know, we can get all those things that they desperately need. Next year, we're looking at doing K-12 arts, and the following year will be high school performing arts. So that would have a rotation because it is a substantial amount of money, but if we were going to try and do it for everybody, it just wouldn't go as far as we needed to. Some of the goals that we have for this year, and some successes that we've had already, is that back in August, when we had our first professional development, it was the very first time as a district that we met every single fine arts teacher all in one place. Usually when we have professional development, when we're lucky enough, it was music is one, arts another one, drama and dance is another. And we were all in the same room for the first time. And we were able to talk, work together, and figure out all the things that we're doing really well, some of the things that we need to fix as a district. It was a really positive experience for us. A couple of weeks later, we came back and then we did have content area meetings where we had the K-8 music together, high school music together, then art and drama together. You know, and so we were able to work on some curriculum ideas, how we can build up from the kindergarten level all the way up through our senior year and try and get those bridges built. My big goal is to try and create a community out of all of our teachers. Right now, if you're a specialist at an elementary school, middle school, high school, you feel like you're kind of on an island because you're the only teacher that does what you do. You don't have another person that teaches the same subject. And so we're trying to show, hey, you have other people within the district that might be a couple miles away from you that can help you. You know, we're trying to build those relationships as best as we possibly can. And this is already starting here. All the teachers, as soon as a position became created, it's like, oh, there's change that's going to happen. And they were so excited by the fact that there's a voice for them. And I'm happy to be the one that gets to be that voice, but they feel supported. They know that they're valued, and it's just getting better every single day. So with that, do you have any questions?
Any comments or questions, Ms. Tippett?
I'm seeing a U of A band
Oh, yes.
performance. I think you have something to share with us about that. That
Oh,
maybe happened over the weekend.
Oh, yes. So Band Day, there was 2 high schools that participated at Band Day on Saturday. Mike and Mountain placed 3rd in their division, their 1A division, which was fantastic, especially for being in their 4th year. This was their 2nd year participating at Band Day. Last year was their 1st year ever doing it. So they did fantastic and got 3rd place overall. And then this is Cienega, and they won their division 2, which is amazing. And was just so happy with everything that they're doing. And like Miss Anderson was talking about earlier with the choir, the 3 choirs performed, Mike and Mountain performed yesterday, and Empire and Cienega performed today. And they're just phenomenal. And I emailed them today about not only how they perform, but just seeing how the kids react in the stands and just listening to the others and how respectful they are. They just represent Vail so well.
Great question. I was thinking the same thing. Any other comments or questions? Mr. best, no,
Just great job.
yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
great, Ms. Anderson.
Well, I just want to publicly say thank you. I got to talk to Jim earlier today, but I told him, I said, I was so hopeful when they hired you in this position. And I think that's what I had. I had hope that there would be some changes. And I just am amazed at what you have done in the time that you've been here. And as I talk to staff, like they feel supported and so I'm glad that we have these resources because I know it's making a difference. But thank you for being you and advocating for these teachers and for our kids. Because as you as each of those pictures passed, those are kids in those pictures, and I know a lot of them. And if I don't know the young ones, I know those teachers, and just it's about kids, and so thank you.
Sorry, just one last thing. I
Yes.
forgot. I need to thank Ethan Hurley so much for all of his support and helping me figure out how to do this job. And also Michelle Quiros for helping with the budget. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. I don't know that Ethan doesn't have his fingers in everything in this district, honestly. Ms. Tippett, do you have another question, comment?
Not really a question, but a comment of, I was really excited to hear the effort to really build a curriculum K through 12 and start intentionally infusing fine arts at a much higher level at the younger grades, building even more meaningful programs at the middle school and the high school level, something that kids can really feel like they're standing on firm footing when they get there and be successful. So I appreciate the intentional effort to build that. I think that's really what parents were looking for.
Well, we know that at the K-5 level, that's where every single kid gets music and art, no matter what. It's not an elective, it's part of their weekly curriculum. And we need to make sure that it's as strong as it can possibly be.
I agree. Any other comments or questions? Sometimes I think there's so many indicators for success in different programs. But for me, it's interesting to see one of the measures of success, I think, is when it comes in casual conversation that people aren't going to come to me and say, hey, I need you to know this. It just comes up to say, when I'm talking to a band director from middle school, and it just happens to be that he just says, I just need you to know things are really good. I feel really supported. I mean, one of your goals was to support teachers that they feel valued and supported. And that's true. And that's authentic because I'm hearing it in casual conversation. And I also think about, I remember Cal once said, sometimes it's harder when your budget is growing. That's almost a harder problem than when it's shrinking. It's easier to figure out things to cut, to go bare bones, to figure out what, things that you can cut. And then when you have a budget that's growing, it causes even more contention to figure out how to allocate resources. And so I just think it's so, just to see how you've been intentional about how you allocate the resources and to not leave anybody out and to help everybody feel valued and have the supplies that they need. Just kudos. It seems like it's an easy thing to do, but it's really not. So thank you for all of your time and effort and making sure that everybody gets a piece and gets what they need to be successful for their students. So
Thank you very
much. Thank you so much. This was the first one. I'm super excited for regular updates. So thank you. You good? Okay. Sorry. Our next item is the New Rocking K school update. It's an inform item, Mr. Crew.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. I need to go in and plug over there because we don't have the Apple Airport. So I'll do that and do a presentation from that podium.
Perfect.
Regarding the new school, because I want to cover slides. And if I do that, I am also acknowledging that I may need to phone some friends, Mr. Carney and Mr. Wood, to help with this process, as they've been integral in doing the planning process with me.
Is Ethan Hurley available by phone or?
Yeah.
Mr.
Hurley. For a friend tonight and isn't able to be here, but you won't be surprised to know that he is a part of the, well, he's not leading. He is a part of the program, the new school planning process. So we have been deep in the intentionally planning a new school in the Rock and K neighborhood since late last spring. You all are aware of that. Want to provide an update to you on where we are at this moment as we are wrapping up the conceptual design phase of the project. So quick overview. This is this side of the map is Rocking K, South Oregon. This is Camino Loma Alta. This is Old Spanish Trail. And this is Old Rocking K. Baker's house. Everybody's curious to know where that is. And Mrs. Dow's house is around the corner. They comprise the older Rocking K. On the south side, all of this area, there's roughly 5,000 homes that are going in that area, of which somewhere between 4,000 and 4,200 are planned to be single family homes. The other remaining 800 to 1,000 homes will be age restricted. So we know that we're needing to provide space for a school in that area to serve those families. Obviously, that's going to take a number of years to build out. Right now, there's roughly 800 homes constructed or in some form of or built or in some form of construction. So this is the main spine road that goes through the neighborhood right now. It stops right about here. And this parcel of land comprises 25 acres of land that we are in process negotiations with Diamond Ventures to purchase that land for the school site. And that specific 24.6, we want to be specific about that, what that process is. We've received 3 appraisals for that land. I believe we've talked about that. Our process for purchasing the land actually goes through the school facilities board. They are required to purchase that land for us. Mr. Wooden has submitted that application. We've had a number of conversations about that. The purchase price is about $5.6 million. We've had assurance from the school facility board. They have to cobble together some money from 3 different pots that are associated to be able to make that happen, but that is possible and feasible. We're waiting to untangle some of the bureaucracy to get that through, but no hurdles appear to be in the way that are not insurmountable for the purchase of that land. So that's really good news on that front. So one of the first things we did as we're planning the new school, and I should back up, we have somewhere between 35 and 40, slightly over 40 people who are helping us with this process. They comprise parents who live in that neighborhood and area, staff who also live in that area, some of the school staff from a variety of schools, but primarily from Ocotillo Ridge, which will be the school that will need to split mostly when the new school is open, and then some district staff as well. So that group comprises the design committee that we've been working with. And the first thing that we did was step back and spent quite a bit of time looking at the values that we want expressed in the construction and the building of this school. Those will be the lens by which we make decisions as we inevitably come across a couple of things that are that we're going to have to make some hard choices about. These values will help us navigate that. So want a school that will foster well-rounded, high-achieving students through diverse programs, collaboration, and community. A school that is designed with a focus on safety, accessibility, nature, flexibility, collaborative spaces, and an eye toward technology in the future. And a school that is situated in a family-oriented community that is designed by nature and values connectedness. You may see some trends in there. We've had a ton of conversation about community and connections. What that looks like in translating to space is how our space is going to be flexible, especially knowing that the school will serve this community for 50 years, long after none of us are here certainly serving in this capacity. So how do we create spaces that will allow for the flexibility of what the future needs are of that neighborhood and education, frankly. One of the key components of the master plan development, which is Rocking K, is integration with nature as much as possible. That's also expressed as a value by those on the committee and wanting to make sure that that happens as well. So I'd say that collaborative space, community connections, and nature are probably the, if I had to lift up three of those key values, three things that move through all of them. Other key components for the project itself, we're looking to master plan a K-8 school that will eventually serve right around 1,000 students. We know when we say that's design capacity for 1,000 students, we actually can get a few more in there than that, but that will be the end product of what we master plan and eventually build in that Rocky K neighborhood. We will need to construct that school though in 2 phases, with the first phase opening in July 2025, assuming everything remains steady on track. Phase 1 will be designed to roughly serve 600 students, and phase 2 will need to be constructed when we have a population of students that require us to build that second phase for the additional 400 students. And I just want to also note that we have bond dollars, additional bond dollars that supplement the state funding for this project that will allow us to construct the building. We don't have bond dollars for the eventual phase 2. So when we get to that point, we'll have to have larger discussions and probably community discussions about the need for a bond to help fill the gap between what the state provides and what's possible. Right now, as an example, we're talking a gap of at least $100 per square foot to be able to construct the space for project costs to build the school to the specifications that our community expects. So there, we use those things. We spent time touring other schools, coming back, talking about what we like about those components, really thinking about what the future of education may hold, and again, what those, in particular, how to create those flexible spaces. And when we looked around, you know, we've built 20 schools in Vail over a, you know, not frankly, just a bit over 2 decades. And many of us who've been involved in those projects are still here. That's unlike most other school districts. We have a history of building schools and kind of developing those things. So while we have looked at schools outside of the Vail School District, really, I would say the committee mainly is taking their lead off of many of the things that we have and watching the evolution of school construction in our own school district. And so we've toured our own schools several times and toured some additional schools outside our school district, had groups go at least once. So we, with that's option, the groups came together and just put down blocks that represent space. So that's what you're seeing here. So this is, you don't need to think about this is exactly what the school is going to be like, or even the orientation, like these together, or those, a lot of room still to be decided on those pieces. But these are more to represent space laid out, space for the buildings laid out on the 25-acre site. So just some orientation. And the other thing I want to know that this represents the entirety of the 1,000 student build out. So it's this both phases. So when you do a Venn diagram, say, well, what is in phase 1? What's in phase 2? Okay. So the classroom pod represented here in this phase. There are obviously baseball fields, soccer fields, softball fields, basketball courts, different play areas. And this represents a kindergarten and a preschool and a separate preschool playground. You'll see a gymnasium. One of the things that came out of the components from the committees wanting to do middle school, more middle school students wanted to look at master planning in gymnasium space. And administrative space, what we're calling the hubs, but familiar with, many of you are familiar with the station, really a combination of library space, some other office area space, to create a larger, more flexible space. But location, so you put that dining auditorium and then playground space plan. So this is just one concept. And I'll tell you, having done a lot of, we spend lots of time laying these things out, talking about it. We spend a lot of time talking about how to do traffic on and off about this. And really, if you step back and look at the concepts, there's a huge amount of space taken up by driveways and parking lots. This one represents a student drop off here, and a singular access for preschool designated parking lot that way, staff can park that way, drop off, drop off. So that's one concept. Another concept that we're looking at, so you'll see a slight difference, layout, move the dining auditorium for the center of the campus, created an amphitheater effect. There's about a 40-foot slope to the site that goes from the slope actually goes north south, so that would build an amphitheater into the more of the natural slope of the campus. The school, the classroom pods are laid out here. It's the pod here above there, school up the corner of the seventh drop off, a longer student drop off here, all open space in the same place in the bus. I can get into a lot of pluses and minuses of these things, and we have a ton of discussion about each different iteration and what that might look like. Mostly my intent is to show you kind of three concepts of the way that, and these three concepts, by the way, came forward after what, 16 different renderings roughly that the groups did, and then the architects brought these three back. And then option C looks a little bit different. Use that dining auditorium. First one is here, the second one's here, the third one's here. Use the basketball courts here. Down there, classroom pods down there. One thing we talked a lot about, and you can see it in both of these, is knowing that it's highly likely, most likely that we won't be able to do gymnasium in phase one. It's like, where do we provide some court space to be able to do things, be able to have some athletics, middle school athletics, doing something in the dining auditorium. There's an orientation where the courts are associated with that auditorium there that could be covered in this one. How to move the public space, middle school. So, yeah, those are the three renderings. And so we met last week. Committee gave the architects a boatload of feedback, about 2 pages of questions and answers and feedback. They're crunching those things and are going to come back to us tomorrow night, likely with 1, maybe 2 concepts that we'll continue to pick apart. And as we do that, once the committee decides on where those things are laid out, we'll bring that back to you, just so you understand, and we can stamp that as a conceptual, the conceptual design, as those things will functionally then set these walls in place, so that the committee and the architects and the contractor can then begin to look at how do those walls get put up, what's the orientation within the interior of that process. So that's kind of where we are at the moment regarding the planning process. So happy to answer any questions or have Mr. Wood or Mr. Carnes jump in and help with any of those.
Perfect, thank you. Comments or questions? Mr. King, did I hear? No? Comments first? No? Ms. Anderson?
So what items on there, phase one, what's phase two, or these you just don't know yet?
Mr. Cruz?
Yeah.
I mean, I see a few.
Yeah, for certain, the number of classroom pods that we will need, we don't need all the classroom pods. So there'll be enough classroom classroom space for 600 student classrooms. So I don't know, Mr. Wood, do you remember how many that represents? The light blue boxes will be phase 2, the gym will be phase 2, and like the preschool phase 2, square feet from part 2. Yeah, and then We know, to that point, we know that we want to offer preschool right up front from, to the community here. One of the other considerations is we'll probably struggle to get right around 300 students, K-8, somewhere in that neighborhood. That'll probably be a target number at the opening in July. So that's a really small school. So we know we should have plenty of classroom space to be able to offer preschool and not have to build the preschool building separately. Now, exactly what that looks like and how that goes, we'll need to thumb wrestle a little bit more to figure that out, but that's in general what that looks like.
Any other comments?
You said there is a
Mr.
meeting tomorrow night?
It sounds like there is a meeting tomorrow night, Mr. Cruz, right?
Yes, President Pat, Mr. King, there's a meeting tomorrow at 5:30 at Old Vale Middle School to consider this, and you all are welcome. I know some of you joined us, Mr. King, you joined us before to jump in and do that work. I will tell you, inside the pods, as far as the classroom configurations, I know you were familiar with these concepts. We have the 4-classroom elementary pod that is represented at many of our schools, Ocotillo Ridge and Acacia being Acacia also, but Esmond Station to be two of those that I think you all are familiar with. And then we have a 6 or an 8-person pod, both at Sonita Valley and Rincon Vista, and what's the orientation around there. So what we're really, again, with the lens of flexible space, we're looking at this point, doing both, some 4-classroom pods and then likely an 8-classroom pod. So a longer pod. What we're finding at Sonita Valley is an instance, we can use that larger pod space to actually hold a classroom for periods of time if we need to use it for classroom space. And what we've seen, although that's not always the ideal configuration, so having the space like you would have at Esmond Station in that interior part is also really nice, but it's nice to have some flexibility. Thinking that maybe those older grade levels, middle school, maybe 4th, 5th added to that, that might be a good combination. So those are just some things that we're kicking around in regard to what that looks like.
Great question. Ms. Tippett?
Is solar going to be part of the project from the get-go?
We are, thank you, President Pat, members of the board. We're actively working on that. Mr. Wood's got good relationships with the solar contractors that we use as you know, that's a separate add-on feature for us. We don't own the solar. We lease those solar panels until it's a lease purchase. Actually, we're going to own some solar panels here pretty soon because we've been in 20-year leases with them. But looking at how to build those in for some of the shade structures. And one of the things we're talking about, I don't know whether it's this rendering or some of the shade structures like that, some of the outdoor courts.
On the Rocking Cave map, it looks like housing is more towards that one end, and maybe even back behind the property just a little bit. Will be some more like houses right off the bat. And are those age restricted or are those general? I know we have one school that is surrounded by age restricted population, which is ridiculous.
Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pat. Here's the Spine Road. If you're familiar with Old Spanish Trail, that says comes down right about here. These neighborhoods in this area represent phase 1, 800 homes in phase 1, roughly. They're about to build out of phase 1, or getting pretty close. Yeah, so another 200 homes. But if they keep on pace of what they have been doing, they're within a year to 2 years of completion of phase 1. So Del Webb is the purple area here. And this is an older map, to be very honest with you. I'm not sure that it still comprises all of the homes. So this would be the age restricted. Some portion of this would be age restricted. This would be in phase 2, family homes, will be homes back here. These are also homes that are spaces that haven't been plotted yet. So that'd be a future phase. all of this will be homes. Through here, they just are not plotted yet. But they are not planning on any more age-restricted homes than what this kind of corridor is here. This area along Camino and Alta is actually under construction now. If you go look at it, those are will be single-family standalone rental homes.
Thank you. Mr. Bister.
Just to piggyback off of what Ms. Tippett iterated earlier in regards to solar, are we looking at this being a lead design for the entire school? And two, are we fully incorporating SEPTED, security and design? Because I see the red perimeter line around it. Is that a perimeter fence? And we're looking, I guess, cross spectrum. Are we building this to meet SEPTED standards?
Mr. Cruz.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. Lead design, that right off the bat. One of the things is we do our own permitting and processing, and some of the things like lead require us to pay fees to be able to do. So we hold a lot of those standards, but we don't necessarily then pursue a lead certification on many of these things. So I guess that's the short answer is we're very mindful of making it energy efficient, but we may not pursue lead specific not standards, but certifications. And then as far as security goes, we have a ton of conversations about security and sight lines in particular, entrance points. This where we can bring particular. And again, these are not exact representative, but the orientation or spacing of those don't you think of those, that's exactly what it would be. But the campus would be in all of our schools, have a single point of entrance, block the campus down with equal exterior fencing around the core pieces of the campus. And then one of the things that we have found is with those interior pod spaces, how do you get into those pod spaces, and then how does that allow for flexibility when there is a lockdown? They're very, very functional as far as the work that needs to be done in there, and they're also really helpful in an emergency situation, moving kids around a small space, and then also the hide, flight, and fight criteria. As far as the specific standards go, we aren't, again, it's something that we're not looking to seek as far as a certification level, but it is something from a design standard that we're very mindful of. If there's anything else, Mr. Wood.
And I guess if I could add to that, you iterated, and I understand that we're bringing the bar very, very high. But as far as those individual certifications, whether it be LEED or SEPTED or whatever have you, those don't help us to, let's say, gain grants or other funding or provide some kind of tangible benefit to help us build the school.
Student?
No, they don't. Okay. Yeah. Short version, they don't. They may help in other areas, but they don't help schools.
All right. And the majority of these design pieces, they would be part of phase one.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any
And
other-
phase two.
And phase two. Any other comments or questions? I have a couple of questions. It's interesting looking at this in a different lens after our safety study session a couple of weeks ago. I know you were saying don't look too closely at these. But I have a question. It looks like the bus bay probably goes in and out the same as the cars. Is that true, or like from the Rocking K Ranch Loop Road?
Yeah. I'll just go to. So this is the Rocking K Ranch Loop Road that runs again built about here. Extended. We're in deep conversation. Mr. Woods working on that about what the road engineering is going to look like.
Okay.
Right now, two-lane road separated by a wide median. one of the safety pieces we're talking about is I think our preference would be not to have a big meeting, but just sidelines and safety effective view of each cost. So we're asking for that, piece. Depending on the iteration, and again, you'll notice that if you where the entrance points are along the road, each one of those entrance points costs us money. So some have more entrance points than others to cut into that road. And so we can use adjacent way funding for those pieces. And so we're it's not insignificant, but by any means, but we're being mindful of how to consolidate them. So in this iteration, yes, the bus loop does share an entrance point for a student drop off. In that one, it does not. So it's separate. In that one, it does not. One of the thoughts on this one is it's far enough away and a separate, excuse me, not that one, the one you referred to, that one, that's far enough away and separate that it shouldn't be a choke point. It's a long drop off. This one, again, I want to get into the weeds. We're talking, one of the considerations, put some parking down by the field, especially there, for example, some other considerations. Wow, I think there was a lot of people like this design. It would require public to have the campus to get that. No, it's not a deal breaker necessarily, but it's from a safety standpoint and those other things that will apply it. What does that look like? Certain have schools that look like this, manage that part. It's just a matter of, is there another way to address that? You can have some site-specific issues with this, as I mentioned, slope from front back to front. Those uphill. So what does that look like? And all the views. The other things, if you're designing it, make sure what the views are. The views are really
do any of our other schools have, I'm trying to think of each of the schools. I'm thinking Empire shares an entrance with the buses, but they don't exit with the buses, correct?
Correct.
Do any of our schools exit with buses and cars?
Yeah, maybe Desert Sky. I'm thinking big Desert Willow. Yeah, the other side.
I just have concerns about that. I like that layout. I'm just thinking about what that looks like to have buses and passenger cars. I know it's not a high school, so that's a different aspect, but still, yeah, I would just love to see the buses have a separate entrance. I do love that has its own bus loop. I like that, but I just think that it can cause dangerous situations if they're both going in and out the same way.
Thank you. One of the other considerations that we're having with the committee, again, here's the site where the school will be located. The majority of the density of the neighborhood build out here around here, right? So the corridor. All of that is within a 1 mile walking radius of the school, or will certainly build out of the neighborhood. The 4,000 homes are going to fill the school, so we'll need to be considerate of what the attendance boundaries are. In the beginning, we'll probably the boundaries would be more expansive than that, but the bottom line is that we won't have that many buses utilizing that school. So what we will need to do is a lot of the conversation was how do we encourage kids to walk, ride their bikes, take scooters, those kinds of things. And in conversation with parents that are saying, well, I'm probably going to drive my kid, for these reasons. And so it's really that when you see the longer drop offs and those kinds of things, I think that's more of the conversation about what that looks like. Put it in context, Rita Ranch is 6,000 homes, 6,000 homes. We have 3 elementary schools and a middle school in that space. We're looking at 1 K-8 that'll serve 4,000 homes. Some of that's changing. We know that we've had lots of conversations about that, what changing demographics look like. We feel that will meet the needs, but it'll primarily the likelihood that this school is a walking school for a longer period of time is higher than it would be at our Reader Ranch schools.
That's a good point. Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you.
Oh, I just have
Oh,
one
yes.
last one. It just
Yep, and
really,
I'll come to,
Go ahead.
just really thank you for everybody who's engaging in the process and parents jumping in and being part of that. It's really a great experience, really rich, but it does take quite a bit of time.
Thank you. And I do want to acknowledge Mr. Carney and Mr. Wood in particular for helping with the process. We've been tag teaming and doing multiple pieces. It is very fun to do this kind of process. There is a lot to it. And one of the other things that we'll be needing to do soon is identify a planning principle for the school as you see things like where does this start massaging down into the specifics of the school. We all have great experience about what that looks like. Mr. Carney and Mr. Wood have both built schools as planning principles and opened them that way. So it's, we've got, again, it's from a school district perspective. I don't know that any other district has more experience sitting at a table to do that than what we do, but it's time to have somebody there to help us move forward. So.
Thank you. All right, so we're good?
Yep.
No other comments or questions? That actually goes right into our next agenda item. Our next agenda item is request for qualifications in RFQ 24-008-28 and construction manager at risk services for new elementary school phase 1. This is an action item, Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, members of the board. Back in mid-August, the district, for the third step of getting Rock and K going, is to get a contractor on board. So back in mid-August, we put out a request for qualifications, the RFQ for construction manager at risk for that new elementary school. Part of that process is we need to get a committee of people together to go ahead and evaluate the RFQs that are submitted by contractors. So quickly, I want to recognize those people that served on that committee. Heather Blumhart, she's a parent and Rock and K committee member. Shannon King, she's the executive assistant curriculum. Jamie Olding, he's the general contractor for building excellence. Kate Robald, principal Ocotillo Ridge. Aaron Schmidt, director of CTE and high school curriculum. Bill Swaim, architect. Robert Tucker, project manager with Diamond Ventures. And they all came together, and there was 5 RFQs that were submitted to our district. They took the time to read each one of those and rank them based on the rubrics that we have utilized on all projects. Came back in towards the end of September and shortlisted the 5, and we actually shortlisted down to 4 contractors that they selected to interview. From the interview process that we held last Friday, 4 outstanding contractors that the district has worked with on many different occasions and currently works with all of them throughout our district. They all did an outstanding job with the interviews and made it very difficult on the committee to make a decision. The committee had the rubric they followed and had things that they were looking for this contractor. What was their schedule looking like in this very competitive market for construction? What did their team look like that they were presenting for us? We always want the A team, right? Well, contractors are all busy too. So, what's going on in their world and who are they presenting to us for the project? So we wanted to look at who was the project manager, pre-construction services person, and the site superintendent, and looking at of the contractors that were interviewing, who was giving us the best group that we felt for our new school. So based after the rubric and doing those interviews and having those conversations, the committee was prepared to make this recommendation that I'll have Mr. Cruz make.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. It's recommended, where is the recommendation? What is the recommendation? Am I reading off of yours?
I'm not getting in the net right now. I don't know.
I have it up here if you'd like, Mr. Cruz.
Thank you. For some reason, it kicked me to the public version. It's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board award RFQ 24-008-28 for construction manager at risk CMR services for the new elementary school, phase 1, to general contracting company Concord General Contracting, and to also authorize Superintendent John Caruth or Director of Facilities Jerry Wood to negotiate and execute the contract for this project as presented.
I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Buster and Mrs. Tippett. Comments or questions? Ms. Tippett?
I have a quick question. So in these types of requests for qualification, we usually have a contractor sitting on that. And so is the requirement that that contractor not be participating in seeking a bid in that process?
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Buster?
I have to ask, what was the tipping point? What tipped Concord toward the front of the line?
Mr. Cruz?
We have to be diplomatic in how we do that because it has to be what that response looks like to everybody else. But Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz, President Pratt, Mr. Buster, members of the board. The tipping point was exactly what we talked about at the beginning. What the committee was looking for, that contractor that would offer the best group as a whole, that is going to help our district build a great facility for our community. And while each one of the contractors had great people on that team that they proposed for this project, and with the schedule that all of them had, because the committee was they asked several questions on schedule of each contractor to see where they're at around our Tucson community, and if they're a contractor that is statewide, as to where they're at with their workloads, because that affects construction projects everywhere, right? So after asking those questions about schedule and trying to figure out the core group that was best for our project, that's where they settled on Concord General Contract.
To add on to that, I think with the exception of one, all of the contractors that submitted have built schools for us. We've partnered with them and have had incredible successful school projects with each one of them. So it's really splitting the finest of hairs. And Mr. Wood is correct in that it's looking at who's available for the team and what that fine split hair is. And the other one that we haven't built a school with, we know many of the people who are on that team now, and we have good relationships with us. Many of the contractors live in our school district or have team members who live in our school district, and we serve their families, and we've known them for a long time. So it is, yeah, we walked in there. I walked in as they were getting ready to do that, and I wasn't worried a whit, because I knew that whoever was selected, one, we have experience with, and two, we would have a incredible high likelihood of having a successful project with any of them. Concord won the day for the reasons that Mr. Wood said. And I'll just say Mr. J.V. Nyman and his family are also Vail family, and we serve his kids. And so it wasn't that or his good looks that tipped the balance. It was the team that brought forward.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Ms. Tippett?
Just about the construction project in general, are we still experiencing the same kind of supply chain issues? As we move into the significant construction project, how do we feel about timelines?
I'll just preface it with saying that each construction project has timeline and supply chain issues and varying price fluctuations on commodities. And we're still experiencing those. One of the reasons that we're having a longer lead time is to also prepare that our days of being able to design and build an elementary school in about a 13, 14-month time window are probably gone. Mr. Wood?
Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, members of the board, yes, Mr. Cruz is spot on with that. Yes, there's still supply chain issues. We could have the contractor speak to it, but they're not approved just yet. However, like we have electrical gear that's still a year out, so there are things like that. It's key that we get a contractor on board to start procuring some of these items to help us so that we aren't behind when it comes to July of 25.
Thank you.
I think I saw a little tick when you started to ask that question, there, Mr. Wood. Any other questions or comments? No. Okay, well, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Congratulations. Our next item is the governing board goals. It's a study item. Mr. Crew.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. This is actually an item for the board and it's yours, but I'll go ahead and outline it. The board had spent time in study sessions and in a board retreat considering board goals for the coming year. And I'll just read them because I think it's important that this draft be known publicly, and I think it speaks to the integrity and intent of this board. So the first board goal is to place a priority on building trust. Another board goal is to uphold board norms, which were approved in June of this past year and revised. It speaks to much of the way that the board intends to comport itself in its business as individuals and as a board. And three, that meetings and agendas and public discussion reflect the focus on these district goals that happen annually, and we're actually ready to move forward with a revision of the district goals at our next meeting, I believe. And four, make it a priority to show up at important events, including all staff, Pride Day, reality check lunches, graduations, and site visits. So those are the board goals. There's some specific actions that are to be accomplished that are less goals and more action item. Be happy, you guys can talk about that. I'm happy to read those otherwise, but those are the goals that have been discussed and are put forth for study. It would be the intent based on those conversations and the result of this evening's conversations to bring this back as an action item to formalize them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cruz. So as a board, we spent a considerable amount of time discussing these, each giving input on what's important to us as a board, on how we behave as a board and how we are viewed by the community, and the relationships that we build both with staff, students, and with the families that we serve in our community. Are there any comments? Do any board members want to make any comments or share any thoughts about the process or our document? Oh, Ms. Tippett, sorry, I still can't see you. Sorry.
I appreciated the process to go through and set board goals. I feel like it's important that we are intentional about where we want to move as a board and the places and how we need to focus our time and attention for our community. And I feel like our goals place the community and our students at the center. And I'm really proud of the work that we do as a board to be present and be intentional about the way that we treat each other and about the way that we treat others, and to make sure that we have our kiddos up front as the priority. And, looking at today's agenda, it was all about fine arts for kiddos and schools for kiddos and contractors who will build schools for our kiddos. And so it's really front and center of what we're doing.
Agree. Any other comments or questions? I think the only thing that I was thinking, in addition to just the conversations that we've had so far, is just wondering how do we keep these goals in front of us, and then how do we communicate them to the public to say this is what's important to us? So just things that we can think about. So okay. If there's no other comments or questions, that was just a study item. Our next and last item is adjournment. So at this time, I'll accept an adjournment for a meeting at 8:51.
I'll motion.
Ms. Anderson.
Seconded.
Thought you were going to second it as well, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Buster, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any. The motion carries. Thank you.